Video early. I'm doing a live stream on Fathers of Nations. So welcome students on board. Candidates in the house, how are you? I hope you're going to pass with flying colors in 101. 101 is English, and I really love this subject. And I believe every student has the ability to score the highest grade ever in English and literature. So welcome on board. And it's about lunchtime. You can be eating. You can be eating, right? So let's go for it. And I always say that it's important you pay attention to what I share, not who I am, because what matters is what I'll share. So last week, the entire last week, I was with some students, coaching them in how to write essays, and I loved the experience. They were very attentive, and by the time we parted in 7 days, they had actually improved a lot. I have my trust that one of them who was a candidate is going to do well if she practices what we were going through, and as well as continue writing more essays, because we did about 13 essays from Fathers of Nations. Imagine. Different questions, trying to just go through a variety of perspectives. So I normally come here on edutainment for us to explore these essays, because I know at the end of the day, that is what the candidates will go through. Of course, currently I'm doing more of Form 4 work, but I'll also allocate time to do Form 3 work, because I've seen also Form 3s are interested. In fact, among the students I was helping in coaching, 2 were Form 3 students, and they really gained a lot. So welcome on board. If you have time, just spare some 1 hour so that we go through 2 essays with you. I know 1 hour is enough for the 2 essays. If we get more time, we'll just talk about general facts about essay writing aspects. I know I've shared earlier, but there is no harm in repeating, because maybe somebody who watched earlier may not have watched today. I also know that music is quite interesting, and maybe you are listening to music, dancing for TikTok views, but you can also allocate some few hours for revision, because KCSE is here with you. I think in 2 months, you'll be sitting for KCSE. Even the students who repeated, maybe because you scored a Y somewhere, or maybe you had a low mark, there's a lot of hope ahead. So only if you focus, I know Fathers of Nation will be an easy book for you. And of course, the questions that come surrounding Fathers of Nations are very limited. You are so lucky. With Fathers of Nations, the options of questions is limited compared to the Samaritan. When I start the Samaritan, I know I have to cover a lot of questions for me to be near the exam. Now, last year I was lucky to have discussed one question here, and it came, and I was so happy. So you never know. Maybe what I'm doing here might come in the exam, and you'll find it easy. So sit, relax, and listen. If you have a clarification you need me to make, you can chat and ask, and I'll do it. Because it is because of you that I'm here. I'm not here for myself. I'm here because of the audience who listen to me. It may be a teacher, it may be a student, it may be a parent. Welcome on board. It is out of such platforms that I get people asking for my books, because I've written almost 20 books, ranging from grade 7, 8, 9, up to Form 4. So if you get a chance, sit down and relax and watch what we are doing. Of course, Fathers of Nation by Paul Vita is a political book, and you may not like politics, but because the exam is here for you, just be set to handle the 3 questions that will be coming in paper 3. And of course, one only will focus on Fathers of Nations. But the reality is, the more questions you explore, the easier you find how to handle these questions. So welcome on board. Thank you. Consider liking the video. We are going through a session of 1 hour, and I'll be just taking a moderate pace. One day I was doing a live stream and somebody said, don't rest. So today I'm considering a moderate speed. We've already gone down 5 minutes. So let me start with the first questions, guys. Yeah, so let me choose the question. Of course, I've already explored some questions earlier, so I'll try so much not to repeat the same, right? Thank you. So let me seek the question here, because I have so many papers. There is even the parent whom I was assisting, the daughters and friends around the place, has sent me about 20 different mocks. And I've looked through already, though I'm yet to finish, and I'm seeing a common trend. So let us look at some of the essays here, and I hope that will be fine with you. Now, for some of the essays, I've not written them down. I'm just trying to explore them with you. And one of the questions I've seen a lot in these papers is that Paul Vita has shown that women in modern times can fight the challenges they meet in life. Have you heard that question? Paul Vita has shown that women can fight the challenges they meet in the daily life. Now, I don't have notes on this, but I have an idea because we wrote an essay with the students whom I was handling last week. And so, I have everything in my mind. So I'll talk about every part of the essay that relates to this, and you can pay attention. I'm so grateful that yesterday Nairobi teacher was here and he really paid a lot of attention, almost 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, he has an interest in literature, especially political, regardless of not being a student. And it made me so happy. So when you come by, consider to stay. Don't run away. And like the video. When you like the video, you are adding a logarithm to my side. And I said that I'm battling with watch hours. And I'm glad that I'm moving very fast. Currently, I'm at 3,000 hours and 314. And it's because of you guys, nobody else. Because of your presence here, as you keep watching, you enhance me. You enable me to meet the watch hours. You enable me to actually seem to be a platform that is worth before YouTube. So guys, let's start with our essay, and I'll read the question again. Women in modern times have been made to overcome the challenges they meet day after day. Zipporah. Big up from South Korea. Hey, I like the Asian people. Generally, I've seen people from India watching me. I've also seen some few Japanese people. Hi, how are you, Zipporah? How is South Korea? South Korea. Hey, that's a wild so far. How is the weather there? Currently in Kenya, it's raining in some parts of the country. In the morning and evening, it's a little bit cold and people are harvesting. What about South Korea? I'm from Kenya, Zipporah. What about you? Oh, you told me South Korea already, but I'm just asking. So it's late at night. The difference between Kenya, what exact hour? Because in Kenya, it is now lunchtime, 1 p.m. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zipporah from South Korea. I really appreciate your presence here. All the way from South Korea. Big up to you. And subscribe to the channel if you've not. I really appreciate. All right, Zipporah. Thank you for the great love and presence here. Because if it's late night, you are really sacrificing to watch this. And I appreciate. All right. So today I decided to do something for the students because they are on holiday. And so here I'm analyzing a book, but it's a political book, 1:07 a.m. Oh, that is in the middle of the night. But here we are 1:07, we can say p.m. now because it's afternoon. Daytime, afternoon now. Oh, so our world is almost 12. The difference between Korea and Kenya, it seems we have a difference of 12 good hours. Thank you, Zipporah. It's through practice. We keep practicing, learning. And we've been on YouTube for some while, though we are struggling with the monetization and watch hours, but we will be there because with people like you who are ready to support us, we really get where we want to be. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted because I imagine South Korea is, when you look at Korea, it's almost 12 hours, the difference of Kenya and South Korea. But you are able to be here and listen to me. I really appreciate. Let me just enhance the network, not even network, but the router. There is a low network. Let me enhance it. Yeah, they can wake up and learn. All right. Yeah, there was some network problem, but have been able to settle it. I've been able to, I was loading a video on the other end. At the same time, I was doing a live stream. So it seems that there was a challenge, but currently I'm only on the live stream. So the network is now strong enough. All right, so let's start the discussion. I know essay writing is something that is done from America because I've been doing academic writing for students in America and even Canada, that is on online writing. I've also done a lot in writing books to do with essay writing, and I do coaching one-on-one. So that is why even currently I feel I don't know, if I get an opportunity outside Kenya, I would actually go, because the problem with Kenya is that we work in class, but sometimes the salaries do not satisfy our needs. You struggle a lot. And currently, if I get that connection to go teach outside, I will be very glad, I am ready to go maybe in a different country, experience different environment, experience different students, but I enhance them because I do a lot in terms of writing, from essays to poems to, linguistics in general. I'm also finishing my master's in literature. In fact, there was only a delay that the university added some units, about 2. I'm supposed to go register them and finish, but I've already done the project. There is marks for that and all other units. So guys, I'm really ready to get somewhere in a country whereby they appreciate teaching and they open spaces for a teacher to explore more than just classwork with students. I like practical lessons where you do with the students. Like last week, I was with 3 students. I really loved the environment whereby you interact with them one-on-one. You ask them their challenges, they tell you, and you add value as you see every day is a progress for them. I really love that. And I also like enhancing students because I've done martial arts, particularly taekwondo, and I love that. I do a lot of dancing. I think you saw one of the videos I posted on this channel was about my dancing aspect, like every day enjoying the dances and all that. I love dances, including the Korean dances, the Indian dances, Japanese dances, and then African dances, and any other. I'm ready to learn all that. So thank you guys. Let me not tire you with a lot of stories about myself. Let's go to business and talk about Fathers of Nations. So Fathers of Nations is a book written by a physics teacher, by the way. So even if you're in physics, you can write a book and people will explore it. This is a political book that is discussing the fate of Africa and the failures that Africa has experienced, but there is hope in that. Thank you, Zipporah. I really appreciate your presence also, and appreciate you for what you are doing. And anybody else who comes on board, like the video, share, and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so. So let's proceed. This is Prissy for you. I'm known as Madam Priska, and I love literature, linguistics, Kiswahili literature too. I explore everything, I've done some Japanese, just little of it, and I've done a lot that I know if I come in contact with people who want to learn from me, they will gain. All right, so let's go on with the question. I had read the question. The question was, Paul Vita empowers women in Fathers of Nation so that they are able to counter the challenges they meet day after day. We have Makutu Mutua. Makutu Mutua, thank you. Welcome on board. Hi, how are you? Okay, if students are up, it's okay. They can benefit from this discussion and maybe they'll share with you what they experienced. All right, so Mahutu Mutua, welcome on board. Like the video and let's experience literature together with you. And any other thing, you know, you can ask questions, you can raise concerns in relation to essay writing. So when you do an essay, generally if you are asked an exam to handle an essay, what do? First of all, you have to know that you must explain the introduction. If the question is given to you, you have to underline the keywords. Every question has keywords. Don't repeat the keywords in your introduction. You have to go ahead and explore in other words or in explanations that give us an understanding into what the essay is all about. So it's like just when you're giving a speech. When you're giving a speech to people, you normally have to tell them that today I'm here to explore this and this and this, right? So the same thing applies to essay writing. Whether you're in America, Asia, or any other country, anytime you are asked to write an essay and it's connected to a textbook, you are supposed to consider. You consider the fact that you are making it clear to somebody who has no idea about it. For example, the question I've read to you, I've said, Paul Vita shows how women in modern times are empowered to encounter or counter challenges in their life, right? Paul Vita shows how women in modern times have learned to counter challenges that they meet in their daily lives. Write an essay using Fathers of Nation by Paul Vita. Now, in your situation in your country like Korea where Zipporah is talking, or any other person, it may be a different book. But all the same, whether it is Merchant of Venice or any other book that you will be given, what you have to do is that you underline the keywords. Now, my question has 3 keywords. Women empowerment. It has challenges. And it has overcome. So, if I start my introduction, I must make whoever will read to understand clearly that I am addressing something specific. Now, let's go to our introduction. Our introduction will go as follows. Indeed, Fathers of Nations by Paul Vita has explored how ladies within the text overcome the problems they face day after day by showing how they use their thought, their plans, and their other strategies to outdo. Are you seeing? I'm trying so much not to use the same words. The question had women empowerment, it had challenges, it had overcome. Now in my answer, I've tried to avoid overcome and use the word outdo. I've tried to overcome women empowerment, and I've said the women in current times have learned, have learned several ways in which they have to outdo the problems they face day after day so that they can survive their societies. Why not Joseph Wambura? Welcome on board. Thank you so much. Why not Joseph Wambura has very good content. And if you love stuff to do with the environment, Zipporah, you can also check on him. Muhutu Mutua, you can check on him. And like my video. So, that is the introduction. Women in current, ladies in current times have learned how to outdo the problems they experience day after day so as to survive the tough environments. I hope everybody has got it, or whoever will watch later, you will have a clarity of what is that is. Now, the next step is to understand the several ways in which women have done it. For you, it might be a different question if you are from America, US, or wherever, or Korea. So, you have, again, for you to make it in your body paragraphs, and body paragraphs are normally 4. 4 body paragraphs. Each scores 3 marks. Each of the paragraphs must have a topic statement related to the question, but giving us a specific way. So you'll have 4 body paragraphs after the introduction, and each of them will have a specific way of handling the question, right? Or proving the question right, and it must then be backed up with evidence. Now that one requires you to look for supporting sentences, which we call background information, right? Some people call it commentary and so many other words, but it is just one thing: background information or supporting evidence, or all those, they mean one and the same thing. So in my body paragraphs, I need 4 paragraphs, right? The first paragraph will deal with how women, and I'll go for a specific woman because in Fathers of Nations we have Fiona, we have Pamela, right? We have Asiya. Those are the 3 women that are standing out. And we have Mahmoud, Miss Mahmoud. We have Fiona. We have Asiya. So let's start with Asiya, for example. Now we will say this about the paragraph on Asiya. Asiya encounters economic problems in her marriage, and she learns to focus on how to sort this out, hence survives her times. So Asiya is a wife to Kimani, of course. Now let's look for supporting evidence as to how, why, what, when. All those questions surrounding H or W questions. Now the first thing I'll do is to tell you that even though it may not be a morally right thing that that woman does, but still we are just looking for empowerment, right? You may not love aspects of empowerment and what we call, women empowerment, all that. But in the question, you'll have to go through that, Now let's look at Asiya. In the text, what are we told? So, evidence. Asiya is a campus beauty who uses her beauty to earn. When Kimani comes to the University of Nairobi, he realizes that the campus beauty is worth, and he marries her on a rainy day. The marriage turns out successful. She travels with Kimani to different places, including Tunisia, where she had Tuni. She stays with Kimani for a while, and Kimani is gratified after acquiring the professorship in the University of Nairobi. They take care of Tuni even at times when there is economic recession in the country. The economic recession turns out to be too bad for the lecturers and the elites at the expense of, the MPs who are holding coups in the parliament. Later on, Asiya realizes that economically they are doing very bad, and she reminds Kimani to step out of teaching and go seek greener pastures. She compares Kimani to Alomu and tells her husband to walk out of teaching because it's not satisfying their needs. She sees that they have one dying car and tells Kimani he should change his profession so that they achieve their goals. When she realizes Kimani is rigid and she has lost Tuni in an accident, she decides to get married to Alomu, the MP who has a fleet of cars. She informs Kimani about it, and even though Kimani tries to challenge her that it's love for money that is making her leave, she tells him she did it with him without money, and Kimani cannot convince her or even know the beauty of money because he has never had it. She ends up walking away in the morning to seek her economic freedom. So some people may feel like this thing that Asiya did was not right, but we are just focusing on economic empowerment. Whether it was morally right or wrong, we are just focusing on how she's seeking her emancipation. Right? Okay, we go to the second paragraph. Thank you. Joseph Wambura has said, thank you so much, my sister. Let us know about the that even me, I'm listening. Okay, welcome. Welcome. Joseph Wambura is one person who is very patient. He can pay attention, listen to even 30 minutes and learn from you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted, and that's why I normally go back to your videos and check one or two things here and there. All right. Oh, so the second paragraph, we are going to focus on the second character, who is a woman in this text and how empowered she is. Now let's talk about Fiona. Fiona Mackenzie. So my paragraph starts with the topic sentence again. Fiona Mackenzie learns to empower herself as a woman serving in the social platform of media, as a journalist for Gambian news. And this makes her overcome challenges in her life. Now let's look at Fiona. Let's talk about her in terms of her journey as a journalist and challenges she meets. Fiona Mackenzie is born in a society full of patriarchal aspects, an insecure situation of Gambia. She, however, gets her job as a journalist in Gambian news. She decides to explore the best way of acquiring information and transmitting it in a manner that even VOK, or the Voice of America, appreciate her. While working for the Gambian News to cover the summit, she quickly is called upon by Sentinel. Sentinel is serving in Gambia during that summit to collect news for the Voice of America. He reports that he had to seek one journalist that is competent, and the name that came up was Fiona's. It is clear that Fiona has been able to overcome the patriarchal society in Gambia, and that is why she is recognized as a very devoted journalist in Gambia. Even though she earns a very low salary under Gambian News, she overcomes that by working so hard. For example, we see her going at night to the Seamount Hotel to check on the 4 people whom she has found from Nick to be working in coordination, yet they seem to be a security threat. Regardless of it being an insecure nation, she's almost kidnapped by Mola Libera. When she realizes she's trapped, she calls upon Abiola's name. Even though Abiola had wanted to punish her and not come for the interview, let her wait. When he sees her struggling and having called his name, he decides to rescue her by fighting Libera Mola. We finally see Fiona with her bag full of tools, saving Abiola from the scratches on his face. Fiona stays in that room but avoids any matters away from collecting news. She is so scheming that she finds out from Abiola that he is the guide to the 4 men, and they have an interest to push Path Alpha onto the summit agenda. She therefore helps him to meet Nick, and finally through her, Abiola is able to put Path Alpha on the agenda. That's a very clever way of working in a nation full of patriarchal empowerment. So Fiona stands out as a lady who, regardless of the challenges she faces, like insecurity, patriarchal challenges, and economic challenges, she's able to earn well from VOA for the duration she works for them during the Path Alpha and Way Omega discussion. Now let's go to the third paragraph. I hope you're following closely and seeing how I'm actually starting with the topic sentence, then background information with supporting evidence to talk about what, why, who, when, which, all that. And then at the end of every paragraph, I'm making sure that I give you an explanation. All right, Glenn GK, welcome on board and thank you. You can like the video. Remember to like the video. Even Joseph Wambura liked the video so that we have several likes coming up. Thank you so much. All right, paragraph 3 of the body paragraph, we are going to focus on Miss Mahmood. Now let's talk about Miss Mahmood. Miss Mahmood Rahma works as the feast of Allah and encounters a lot of challenges which she has to overcome. Mahmood is among the few women who work in the Department of Weapons, and they work alongside Tahir, who is their superior. Tahir has superiority complex and patriarchal matters that affect him in a manner that he believes Rahma should automatically love or adhere to the demands he gives. Tahir approaches Rahma and asks for a date off to go and take tomato soup. Rahma smiles, but she does not give in very fast because she knows an Egyptian woman should act with some, kind of reservation. So she smiles but rejects the offer. This one, of course, brings down Tahir. He's humiliated. The next day, while unveiling in public during the culture week, Tahir slaps her. Now, she does not take it lying down. Instead, she acts with the reflex and lets an envelope opener slit into Tahir's eye. Even though this violence is not advocated, it clearly shows that a man has no right to contravene or actually attack Rahma as it happened. So Rahma indeed proves her power in Fathers of Nations as a modern woman who has empowered herself to overcome the challenges. Let's get to another character. Of course, I'll give you 5 paragraphs so that you can pick the 4 best ones. The next character is, let's deal with, because we have Pamela, and at the same time we have, okay, I've already dealt with Asia. I want to deal with Tuni, right? So that you realize that we have 5 characters who are empowered, even though some have a weak point because of what happens to them. Now, Tuni is a woman who exists within a challenging time, and she learns to challenge the problems she faces by acquiring skills that will let her survive. Tuni sits down with the father and take ice. She informs them that she's attending very intelligent seminars that will let her overcome insecurity matters. It is clear that security has been left in the hands of individuals. Tuni realizes that if she does not empower herself or enhance herself with skills, then she will always be attacked. She informs her mother that women should not always look like, they are weak. They should avoid walking in alleys, dark alleys. They should also avoid parking vehicles, and when they come back to the vehicles, they drive away without checking. And in case they realize there is a predator, they should even crash the car. Those are some of the lessons she has acquired from the seminars. Now we understand all through that Tuni has been empowering herself with skills that will let her be safe in this insecure world. She has learned how to drive, and she would wish to actually have her own car and drive so that she applies the skills she has learned. Challenging her mother, Asiya, and the father is a clear indication that Tuni is ready to overcome the challenges of her time. Let's get to the fifth character. I've given you 5 paragraphs, though they should be 4. The fourth character I'm focusing on is Pamela. Pamela is a woman who comes to Africa as a white woman to counter the African tradition. Pamela manages to counter the challenges surrounding the African society. Abiola studies in America, and during graduation, he decides to marry Pamela, a white woman. When they get married or wed, Pamela decides that she will not have children. She would rather adopt because Africa has a lot of children who are uncared of. Abiola, on the other hand, wants his own biological children. And so they reach a consensus that they'll have none of them, but they'll settle. They hire a worker in their house. From a trip in Boston, where Abiola had done a presentation, they come back and find a woman planted in the house. Pamela demands that Issa explains who this woman is. When the cousin to Abiola does not respect her and wants to talk to Abiola directly, Pamela commands respect. She tells them to talk to her directly because it's her house. She takes a broom and begins to chase the woman in the house that night. She orders that Abiola lets these people go in the middle of the night. When Abiola resists and says that it is bad to do so, she says they stay and she goes away. Indeed, Pamela knows that they have brought this woman because she does not have children and they are challenging her space, so she decides to go away. The decision not to have children before the separation saves her because if she had children, she would have had it too rough to walk away. She pulls her suitcase, which is unpacked, and walks into the night, and the next time she is back to Boston and files a divorce. The separation is a solution that both of them needed, instead of staying together and they don't have same ideologies. So indeed, Pamela is empowered to overcome the challenges of an interracial marriage where ideologies differ. I hope you've seen all my paragraphs. Now let's come to a conclusive paragraph. A conclusive paragraph can be a lesson, a general statement, or like proving a point. Now in our conclusion, we'll say, in a nutshell, it is clear that women need to have skills that will help them diverge the problems they face day after day, such as what happens to Pamela, Asiya, Tuni, and Fiona in Fathers of Nations. Right? Now let's move to the second question. I told you we are dealing with 2 questions, just 2. Now the second question, let me check here the questions I have in this book so that I can show the notes. I know some people like to see the notes, so let me do you a favor to show the notes. Yeah. So the second question is, change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. Using Events in Fathers of Nations by Paul Vita. Prove that the author shows us this. And even before I go to that, I didn't realize that I had written some of the, that question that we dealt with. I've seen it somewhere. Right here. Let me just show it before I come back to the next question. So you can see that question there. It is related to what I was doing, right, in one of my guide reference books. And you can add on the list Mahmoud. Now let's check on Tuni. All right, you can see Tuni right there. I hope you've read through on Tuni. It may not be actually very similar to what I was discussing because I didn't even know I had written it down. Now, Pamela, look at that. That is Pamela. All right. I hope you've covered that. Then that is Fiona, right? We may have more detail from what I've said. Then we have Asia, right? And the conclusion right there. Okay. So let's move to the second question, and for that one I'll be a bit fast because we have just 18 minutes or less. Change is inevitable using evidence in Fathers of Nations by Paul Vita. Prove that the author shows us this. Alright, so I'll be showing you the notes as we go. The first paragraph, sometimes even when we think situations are permanent, they can never be. Life is like a journey that transforms at any time. Did you see that? All right. Sometimes even when we think situations are permanent, they can never be. Life is like a journey that transforms at any time. This question is reminding me something about Nigeria. I hope you know that song that says, no situation is permanent. Money is a curse. Sim Kadisa. And they also have another song, no situation is permanent, my brother, my sister. Okay, now let's go on with the first paragraph. As I told you, topic sentence, very important. Supporting evidence, very important. So here I'll be showing you notes on that. Kimani believes he was born a teacher and a teacher he would die. However, his situation is not permanent. When he turns into the professor and radically works towards the changes in the University of Nairobi, Kimani does not believe anything can change in his life, especially after marrying Asia, the campus beauty. Asia always reminded him to leave the university and join politics when recession had hit the country. However, he was unwilling to do so. Tuni too asked him why he could not consider going into politics. Kimani was rigid, believing that politics was for greedy people who do not have brains. He loses his daughter in an accident. In an inconsolable moment, the wife turns out to loathe him and blames him for the accident. Kimani meets Tad Longway, who offers Agda Mission and Path Alpha just after he had been imprisoned, put to jail for 6 months, and he had suffered the demotion from full professor to the common lecturer. He decides that Path Alpha is a bird in hand and joins this mission as a way to escape teaching without having to say bye. So indeed, Kimani realizes that change is inevitable. Let's go to the second paragraph. I'll be adding more information as I discuss because when I wrote this, maybe I did not see those points, but I'm seeing them now. So you listen carefully and consider those additions. Tahir believes that the president of Libya is wise and is on the way to overdo or outdo the developed nations. On graduating, he comes back to his nation and joins the Feast of Allah, an organization that the president has just started. The group allows him or permits him to realize his dream of making nuclear weapons. Even when any other person thinks that the president has overstayed in power, Tahir is quite fulfilled with this president, and he is so proud of him. Nonetheless, things change suddenly after Al-Qaeda bomb America, and the president quickly closes the company Feast of Allah. He even compensates countries that were hit. This closes down Tahir's chapter. He begins to hate the president and think that he has succumbed to the white or Western rule. It is clear, therefore, that Tahir's love for the president could not be sustained, and he suddenly considers the president as the worst person ever. Paragraph 3 of body paragraph. Chamaka is a reckless driver who does not adhere to the laws. He always drives with the music blasting in his Mercedes. Most times his hand is always protruding, and he fails to observe the road or traffic rules. He loves Lagos as a place that allows him practice his careless driving. One day, after dropping Obina at the university and is coming to the Earth Movers Limited, he crosses lanes just as he's used to. However, this time round he meets a mean machine, a fire engine. His Mercedes is mangled. He comes out unhurt and later decides to turn into a pastor, for he realizes what he experienced was a miracle, and later decides to turn into a pastor, for he learns that everything cannot be permanent. Instead of practicing the wrong, Chamaka turns out to be the one to scorn evil and condone negligence of any sort. He does not stand any wrongdoing in the society, including what the president does during the riots and the fires in a given city. No one can actually relate the two persons because change is drastic. Indeed, Chamaka is a changed man from whoever we knew. Let's turn to Abiola. Abiola is so confident that Way Omega is the greatest and brilliant idea for Africa. He even wills to go and advise the heads to adopt it as the best option, only to later see light in Path Alpha, an option provided by TAD. Abiola says that having been invited by heads, they trust in him and will follow his advice. During an interview with Fiona, Abiola insists that there is no way he can be called by all the presidents and miss to have the change implemented. Nonetheless, it happened that before leaving Boston, Tad had been invited to advise the heads in Banjul. Now Tad switches seats with Pamela and introduces himself to Abiola as the Agda engineer. He gives Abiola an option of reading documents from Path Alpha and maintain Omega, and he insists Path Alpha has a will to change, whereas Way Omega lacks answers to current problems of corruption and impunity. He believes the only way to change Africa is to bring the will to solve those problems in Africa, such as voting and outdoing corruption. Third, requests Abiola to hold on Way Omega as an entry point to the summit and guide the four in their observer's role during the summit. Even though as they part, Abiola is not fully convinced, he later agrees to do so and cleverly helps Path Alpha to win the day. As such, change is inevitable for Abiola. Now let's go to the conclusion, guys. Overall, life is about change, and sometimes expectations we have may not be what we'll use to meet what we want on the ground. In Fathers of Nations, many situations in the countries, on individuals and conditions prove this to us. Guys, we have clearly gone through the essays, the two essays, and I've shown you the examples. I believe you can even make it better as a candidate. I know you may not be checking right away as I do the live stream, but feel free to check later. And when you check later, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and may Lord bless you. May Lord enable you to even go through other essays and meet them in the exam. KCSE is never difficult, but it can be challenging, especially if you have not prepared. But I'm assuring you, if you keep preparing yourself day after day, you will be shining by December. When results will be announced, people will be worried, but you will be walking proud enough about the results. I don't know whether the results will be released in December or again, they'll be delayed up to January as it happened last year. I wish you all the best. Let's meet again in another live stream. I'll be doing a social reaction on Nyabohanze later on. Maybe from, I don't know whether it's from 5, somewhere there. Otherwise, have a nice time. If you also watch political analysis, you can follow me to Live Saga TV, because by 2 or 2:30, I want to go to Live Saga TV and do something in the political aspect or scenario. Bye-bye.